I'm going to animate my first walk cycle today. Wish me luck. Here we go. Hello, and welcome back to another Crash Creates video. I should work on making my chair less squeaky. Anyway, we're gonna do my first walk cycle animation today, and I'm not just gonna like go in blind. I mean, maybe that would be fun to try. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try a little blind animation first. I'm just gonna go and make like a stick figure walking. That's not gonna be the ultimate thing. We'll see how that works too. But ultimately, I'm gonna use Skillshare. There's this class, Basics of Hand-Drawn Animation by Johannes Faust. I've talked about it before in an update video, and I showed some of the animation stuff that I've done. Here, I'll show it on screen now. There's things, if I still have the files. Johannes Faust. Really, really happy with what I learned from the class before, and it's been a while since I've gone back to it. So, you know, gonna be some growing pains, I suppose. But I've been wanting to do a walking cycle for a long time, and I'm ready to do it today. So we're gonna freaking jump in and do it. All right, here we go. All right, so jumping in with the blind animation. I really have been away from animating for like over a month now, so I literally had to go, oh god, where are all my buttons? Had to get my properties menu up and whatever. And then I was like, where do I start? I've got so much knowledge on animation that I just haven't used because I've spent so much more time actually thinking about animation and learning about animation than I have actually animating. And I think that's been like one of my biggest problems as of late. And I found that with this like blind exercise, because I was sitting there and I was doing the animation, and obviously I'm animating on ones right now, which is not great to start with. Animating on ones is when you animate every single frame. Normally people animate on twos, so, you know, if you got 24 frames per second for 1 second of video, you could have like 12 drawings instead of 24. It's less smooth, but it saves you a lot of time, and it still looks pretty good. So, you know, I started off animating on ones. I think I switched to animating on twos. I can't remember. It's yeah, it was, the blind was an interesting an interesting exercise. And I figured, you know, like, oh yeah, there's where I switched to twos. The funniest thing about it was, I know that you're supposed to do like walk cycles and such on pose to pose instead of just straight ahead, which is what I'm doing right now. And I didn't know what the poses were. It like dawned on me while I was doing it that I'm like, I have no idea how my character's supposed to be posed while going. I know so much about 12 principles animations, squash and stretch, and all that stuff. And I was like, I need to start animating more. I just need to start putting my freaking pen to paper, so to speak. But yeah, so I made this little animation. It only took a little while, and it was just a quick stick figure, and I was embarrassed. But, you know, and I spent a bunch of time trying to figure out how to resize it properly here. But yeah, that's how the blind animation went. Oof. So yeah, the blind animation is it's an animation. He kind of looks like he's dragging his legs like he's in pain. But yeah, that's what I'm capable of doing out of my head when it comes to animation. It's just a quick stick figure. It took me like 15-20 minutes to make. Probably could have done a lot better if I had spent a lot more time. But the truth is, I don't know what the poses are for a walking animation. So even if I took longer, I mean, my line art might be better, but still bad. So let's shoot over to, you know, spending some time learning from a master, and then, you know, doing my own attempt. Here we go. Ooh, hope that comes out a lot better. All right, so as I mentioned before, I took Johannes Faust's Basics of Hand-Drawn Animation Skillshare course to learn this. And obviously, one of the first things that he talked about when making a walk animation is the pose-to-pose process for how you're doing it. And I'm going to throw up some explanations, or at least some images on the screen to show you what I'm trying to get at. But the first two that are most important, and you can actually make like a simple animation out of it, is the contact pose, which is where the front foot is making contact when you're making your step forward, and the passing pose. And the passing pose is the stand-up pose, which is actually on the screen right now, right? And these poses, just with those poses, you can make a simple animation. I'll see if I can make something to throw it up as well. But then you have to have a few extra poses in between to really make the whole thing work. You know, you got to have your down pose and your high pose, and where they're set in between each one. I'll try to put up a little thing showing, you know, where each picture is set in the whole thing. Because obviously, I mean, all animation is just a bunch of pictures, and this is all my rough animation, by the way. But if you have them in, there's like 6 drawings for each step, 12 drawings for one full cycle of 2 steps. And once you have 2 steps, obviously you can loop it and you can have a full walk cycle. But it's basically a contact pose, a down pose, and in between a contact pose, a down pose, and in between a passing position, the up position, the in between, and then the contact. And that's like the full cycle. So that, along with putting all of your different pieces on different layers, makes it so that you can adjust things. I figured out that I didn't need to have my legs and my body on a different layer because those things were going to be attached no matter what. But when it came to the arms and the head, it was fun to have it separated, because then later on what I did was I offset it by 1 frame, and it made it so that this head had this cool bouncing motion, which was something that was in his Mr. Faust's tutorial, and this is what I'm actually cleaning up right now so that it works properly. And I'll throw a little thing on the screen showing that, just that little bit of animation there. But then we moved on to line art, and I tried to figure out how complicated I wanted to go. Did I want to make a jacket? Did I want to make it whatever? I ended up just going for like a basic outline and kind of hinting at shoes, pants, and a shirt, because I was lazy. I want to do some more in-depth stuff at some point and have some more clothes and whatnot, but that's just basically what I did. And I just started doing all the line art on one thing and having the head separate. And I wanted the head separate so that I could change how it bounced or whatever. I didn't end up changing much about it at all, I don't think, but having it separate also made it so that, you know, if I wanted to, I could make the change. If I decided I didn't like the bouncing, I could put it back and just the arms would be offset or whatever, you know. I did end up wanting the head separate as well, because I decided that I wanted to make a floppy hat on top of it. I was kind of like looking at this and I was like, I mean, it's a cool walk cycle, but I'm not really using a lot of the different, you know, principles of animation. And I was like, I really wanted to add some squash and stretch. So that's where the hat came into play. And you can see I'm building it here. I lost a little bit of my footage in between here, but I was playing around with making it so that the hat, every time the head would bounce up and down, the hat would bounce with it. So it would have some fun. It would give the character a little bit of a little bit more character, just in general, I guess. Then I moved on to coloring. My hand was hurting so bad at this point. Ironically, I colored most of this, like most of the actual character. And then when I went to export it afterwards, I had turned off my recording. So I didn't end up recording the entire coloring process because I forgot to record again when I decided to make the whole background. So the final animation comes out a little bit different, but all the colors are pretty much the exact same. It's just like I added a background and made sure that the character itself was white and not transparent. But this whole thing was such an amazing learning process. I can't wait to do some more animation. It's gonna be fun. Animating is just such a fun and interesting thing. It takes so long though. Whew. But yeah, this is the final result. All right, so that's our finished product. I'm really, really pleased with how it came out. I mean, it took a lot longer. My blind attempt took like 15 minutes, and it was because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But like this attempt took me somewhere around like 6 hours. I mean, obviously, I probably didn't need to go full color and whatnot, but and the bouncing hat was just something I had to add. But I'm really happy with how it came out, and I'm so pleased to have finally started some actual animation. There are problems with it. I can see them just obviously. I kind of like the bouncing head thing, but you know, other than those problems, I'm cool with it. I think it's good. I'm pretty happy. So if you liked the video, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you nerds later. Bye.